Just like me, you're probably used to journalists all over the world attacking video games for glorifying violence, and reading about it almost every single day. It seems like a topic that they love talking about because it has shock value, and usually paints the medium as a whole in dark colors. However, this time they have attacked two games that Sony showcased during Paris Games Week. That will be The Last of Us Part 2 and Detroit Become Human, both for different reasons. But I can't help but notice that it was blew out of a proportion. Now, I may not have the integrity that journalists claim to have, but that doesn't stop me from expressing my opinion on these two examples. We live in 2017, but gamers still seem to be treated like children that need to be spared of all of these violent video games. In a cultural sense, violence is a very sensitive topic right now with all of that's happening in the world. Maybe the horrible terror acts committed around the world, domestic abuse or violence against women, and I condemn all of these. But when it comes to video games, and if it tries to touch on either of these topics, they come under fire from left and right with people claiming that it shouldn't exist on this medium at all, which always makes me think. But movies touch on these topics all the time, and for the same reasons they do not get as much negative media attention as video games do. Why is that the case? Well, I guess we could point out that the main difference of video games and movies or books is that video games are interactive. Most of the time you're participating in the events that are unfolding in the game, as to opposed to watching a film where you are just an observer to everything that's happening on the screen. But I feel like the interactive media like video games have an opportunity to make meaningful impacts on the person that's playing the game, make them think, analyze what's happening on the screen more than, let's say, after watching a movie. So I've read numerous articles that came out in the span of a few days talking about the incredible trailer of The Last of Us Part 2, that's my opinion. I figure that most of you have already seen it and have your own thoughts about it. However, these articles spent most of the time bashing the story shown in the trailer, trying to spin the story so that the reader would believe that the game was in some sort of way glorifying the violence against women, which in my opinion is crazy. What I've got from the trailer was that these very women that were shown being dragged, almost hanged, one of whose arm was struck with a hammer, they managed to survive and defend themselves. They weren't murdered, they survived. I know that violence against women is a very sensitive topic, and I'm happy that over the past years, women are being more empowered and shown as strong both physically and mentally. I am celebrating the fact that we have managed to get more female characters as leading roles in video games over the past years, especially if these characters are done right and fit well in the game's world. But what these reporters have written feels like we should take a step back. Women shouldn't be at all involved into scenes like this. Hell, why don't we switch all of the female characters into male characters, have them being tortured and show off their manliness by killing everyone, while women be a decoration in the background? Isn't this the opposite of what should be happening? Isn't this the opposite of what women have fought for over the past years? What would they prefer? That the cast of female characters in the trailer would be strolling around a post-apocalyptic world of The Last of Us, which is to no one's surprise known to be unforgiving and brutal. Would they prefer them selling cookies dressed as Girl Scouts in the background? I think not. But what the reporters said they wanted was context, or at least they pretended to want it. But don't you think that we'll get this context when the game finally launches? Or do you want to read the whole script of the game while you're at it? This is what the game's creative director had to say about the violence depicted in the world of The Last of Us. The violence you see inside this world isn't gratuitous and over the top just for the sake of being violent. It's setting a tone. It's setting a reality that Joel and Ellie are having to deal with. Everything has to feel tense. Everything has to feel grounded in reality. The reason why we're going for such a realistic violence is because we want you to believe that the stakes are high for Ellie and Joel. It was followed by a PlayStation executive's Jim Ryan's statement. I should never prejudice this, but it will probably be rated 18, I think it's fair to say. And there's a market for those people who like that sort of game. Adults who like that sort of game. And I think we cater for that. And I completely stand by and approve of these statements. The Last of Us franchise is first of all not intended to be played by children, but by mature adults who can think for themselves, make decisions on their own, analyze what's happening on the screen and understand what is real and what is not. But when it comes to Detroit Become Human, it's tackling another sensitive topic, domestic abuse. At least the android's Kara's story arc seems to be revolving around that. Now, the reason that this trailer came under fire was because it depicted an abusive father that would occasionally lash out on his daughter, beating her, abusing her verbally and whatnot. It's a very sensitive topic and I completely agree with that. But the journalist attacked the fact that this topic is even showcased in the game. Like, why would you include that in the video game that's supposedly going to be played by millions around the world? And I do not understand that. Why is it allowed for other mediums to touch on this subject but not video games? Are we not ready to see the important issues and problems happen on the screen? Do you think we are not ready to understand that these issues are real? GameSpot had an interesting talk about this after they were shown the full demo of the level behind closed doors. They did agree that the topic that Quantic Dream is touching is a very sensitive one and should be treated with utmost sensitivity. They did state that the demo made them feel various emotions, mostly negative toward the abusive father. And they did say that the only issue that they've had was that there wasn't much context given to understanding the father's intentions to why this abuse is happening in the first place. And I can see myself agreeing with this point as opposed to these topics do not belong in this medium at all. Context is important. It always was and it always will be. I am happy to see that our industry is trying to tackle on these problems and make us understand that this sort of abuse can happen and is happening everywhere, every day around us. Now, I did experience plenty of domestic abuse on my own in my childhood. It was not as extreme as depicted in the trailer, let me tell you that. But this doesn't make me attack the game for including a narrative like this. Quite the opposite, I am welcoming it. I want others to see with their eyes what children at a very young age usually experience when a family member assaults them, may it be verbally or even physically. The inability to defend themselves, the mental trauma that they endure is truly heartbreaking. And if it makes people think and evaluate themselves, then I believe we are making the right choice as an industry. This is what the game's director David Cage had to say when he came under fire from journalists all around the world. Would you ask this question to a film director, to a writer? Would you? Now, what I wanted to talk about throughout this video was that video games are as violent as we let ourselves perceive them. We all understand that violence against women, children, or anyone in fact is unjustified. However, violence like this in a video game or a movie usually has meaning behind it plot-wise. It is not on the screen because the director of a game or a movie likes violence, it's here because it serves a purpose. Usually to make the observer or a person that's interacting with the medium think, analyze, and evaluate what's happening. Thank you for watching. My name is Mikolas and this was my first feature video. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like under it. If you did not, leave a dislike. Join the discussion and give your opinion in the comment section below. I'd like to know your opinion on this. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can do so on Facebook at facebook.com/MikolasGX, as well as on Twitch at twitch.tv/MikolasGX, where I stream games numerous times per week. It's been a pleasure, and until next time, take care, and bye for now.